This video is to show you how to do division of fractions. So hopefully by the end of this video you'll feel that you are fluent in all your times tables. You can simplify fractions, you can successfully multiply fractions, and ultimately you know then how to divide by a fraction. So dividing fractions, if we look at just a normal kind of whole number division where I've got 8 divided by 2, you could very quickly tell me that the answer would be 4, shown over here. Okay, we have 8 yellow circles. I've divided them into 2 groups and I have 4 yellow circles within each group. Now, if we think about the next question, 8 divided by a half. Okay, so what we're trying to think of here is that how many halves are in 8. Okay, and if you would like to think about it as like in a context, if you've got 8 cakes, and how many half cakes would you have? So here's one cake. If I half it, half that one, half the next one, and so on, what you would find is actually you now have 16 pieces of cake. So this is the same as 8 times 2. Now remember, 2 can be written as 2 over 1, and obviously 8 times 2 is 16. If we look at example number 2, 6 divided by a third. So again, if we apply the same principle we did in the last example, and we took each section and we split it into 2 because we were dividing by a half. This time if we split each section into 3, then that's what we would have. And this is the same as 6 times 3. 6 times 3 is 18. And if we counted up all these segments over here, you would find we have 18. If we look at the next example, example number 3, this time I've got 2/3 and I'm dividing it by a half. Now you've probably already noticed a pattern with the last 2 examples. And that is, the first fraction would stay the same, but actually what happens is this second fraction flips. So instead of it being 1 over 2, it's now 2 over 1. And we change the division to a multiplication. Now, we already know by this stage how to multiply fractions together. You multiply the numerators together, giving you 4, multiplying the denominators together to give you 3, so you will get 4 over 3. Now remember, don't leave a fraction as an improper fraction. You should change it back to a mixed number. So this is the same as 4 divided by 3. So 3 goes into 4 once, with 1 left over. Therefore it's 1 1/3. Example number 4, very similar to example number 3, in the sense we are going to flip this second fraction and change it to a times. You'll notice this time though, 4 and 8 can both be divided by 4. So when doing so, 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. We can also simplify on the other diagonal, and we can do so by dividing by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3, 15 divided by 3 is 5. Now, if we multiply the numerators together, 1 times 5, we get 5. And multiplying the denominators together, 3 times 2 is 6. You can't simplify that any further. You've not got a top heavy, so that's your final answer. Example number 5, This time I have two mixed numbers. Now, just like in multiplication, please do not attempt to either multiply or divide unless you've changed them both to top-heavy fractions, okay, so improper fractions. So 3 times 5, remember, is 15. 15 plus 3 is 18, so giving me 18 over 5. And that's divided by 8 over 3. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus the 2 gives you 8. So that's why it's 8 over 3. So from this stage, it's exactly the same as your previous examples. Flipping the second fraction and changing the division to a multiplication. And then check your diagonals to see if you can simplify. So in this case you can. The 18 and the 8 can both be divided by 2. Then multiply your numerators together and multiply your denominators together to give you 27 over 20. And then, of course, we've got an improper fraction here. So changing that back into a mixed number, 20 goes into 27 once with 7 left over. So 1 and 7 over 20 is your final answer. Example number 6. Again, I've got two, well, one's actually just a whole number and the other one's a mixed number. So in the next stage, make sure that you have two fractions. So 8 is the same as 8 over 1. And I've changed my mixed number to an improper fraction. So 2 times 7 is 14, plus the 2 on the top is 16, so 16 over 7. And then, once you have it at this stage, exactly the same strategy as before. Flip your second fraction and change your division to a multiplication. So I've now got 8 over 1 times 7 over 16. Check your diagonals for any simplification, which we of course can do. 8 and 16 are both divided by or divisible by 8. And then multiply your numerators together, multiply your denominators together to give you 7 over 2. Remember to change it to a mixed number. So 2 goes into 7 3 times with 1 left over. So therefore your final answer is 3.5. Okay, so now's the time to test yourself to see if you can understand it okay. So having a look at the questions, it would be a good idea to pause this video right now. And then when you press play again, you can check whether or not you've got the right answer. Right, let's look at the first one. Okay, so your strategy, remember, is to flip the second fraction, change it to a multiplication. Check to see if there's any, or either of the diagonals can be simplified. One of these can, it can be divided by 2. And then multiply your numerators together and then multiply your denominators together. So your final answer for the first one was 9 over 14. For the second example, okay, you're going to have to change them to improper fractions first. Then flip your second fraction, change it to a multiplication. There's no simplification in this question. You can't simplify either diagonal, so you go straight to multiplying the numerators and multiplying the denominators together. Remember, you could do a multiplication at the side for your 13 times 5 if you didn't quite know that in your head. And also at this point here, how many times can 18 go into 65? You might do a wee multiplication at the side to find out how many times you can do that. However, your final answer, either way, will be 3 and 11 over 18. The last example, change the first fraction to an improper fraction. And then flip your second fraction, change it to a multiplication. Check for any simplification. Remember, diagonally, we can't do so. So multiplying the numerators and the denominators together to give us 64 over 21. Now that can happen, 21 can go into 64 3 times with 1 left over. So your final answer is 3 and 1 over 21.